feels like that. And for me, the practice is like letting myself unleash, because I have a tendency to rein myself in,
Yeah.
and be like, that's too much. That's too, like that fire is going to burn too hot. That wind's going to burn, it's going to blow too hard. Like maybe you'll be too much. Maybe this is too much. And I'll get in my head about it and I'll rein myself in.
Mhm.
But so the practice is really letting myself off the leash and setting down those reins. And I grew up horseback riding, and that was something that we practiced. Like when I learned to canter, I remember one of the first things that my riding instructor asked me to do. Right, I had just mastered this new thing, and we were going the fastest I'd ever gone on a horse. Right, and um, I came around a curve in the arena, and she goes, "I want you to set your reins down." And I remember being like, like, oh my God, I'm gonna die.
Uh,
Right? Like I'm on this massive animal, and she just asked me to like basically like set down your control,
yeah. Wow.
right? Like all of that holding back, put it down for a second and just see what happens.
Wow. How was that?
I mean, it was luckily I was on a horse that I knew and loved and really, really trusted.
Mm.
And I think that's comparable to like I I trust myself a lot now, and so it's easier to let myself off that leash because I trust myself and I trust life.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would have worked as well on a horse that I didn't love and trust.
Yeah.
Um, but like it takes that holding piece out of the equation, and so all you can do is feel it. Right? All you can do is like try to keep your seat and feel that rhythm. Um, and so it forces you to put your focus elsewhere. And I think for me, and this is probably true for a lot of people who have a lot of air dominant in their chart and in their life, um, it's a lot easier if you don't fight it, right? Like give into that, ride that wave, like fly, catch that thermal in the air, right? Instead of trying to control it, instead of trying to um, hold it back.
Yeah. Well, I think that's something that we can all benefit from. I've been thinking about it a lot lately, like controlling the situation can take us in some really convoluted directions that are just
Totally.
totally unnecessary.
And I think sometimes we do that in the name of focus,
Mm-hmm.
right? In the name of like trying to get all the steps right.
Mm-hmm. Working
When,
plan.
yeah, right. When I think, in fact, focusing and getting all the steps right happens much more effortlessly when we let go than when we try, right? Because if you ask a dancer, were you thinking about every single footstep that you made? No,
No.
no, they're feeling it. They're feeling it all, right? They're not saying, okay, I need to do this now, and then I need to go to the right, and then I need to make two steps. They're past that. They're not calculating anymore, right? And I think sometimes people get confused between wanting to be focused and precise versus have control.
Yeah.
Right? They're not the same thing.
Let's hash that out. Sounds hard.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it is once you're doing it. I think it is when you're trying to do it.
Yeah, it's like precision is harnessing those intricacies that the flow opens itself up to.
Mm. And there's an intuition to it,
Hmm.
right? There's a muscle memory to it. So I think sometimes you need to learn some stuff before you do that, right? Just like dancers learn a lot before they pull off something that looks effortless, right?
Right.
And so sometimes it takes a lot of practice. Um, but I think that there has to be, and I think even in your body, sometimes you can feel that difference between like I'm really focused and precise right now, but I don't have a hard grip on this.
Hmm.
right? Versus I'm gripping this really hard, but I'm also not being very focused or precise, right? And I think that's a good question to ask of like, if you feel like you're gripping something really hard, if you feel like you're trying to control something, ask yourself, are you able to carry out some precision? Are you able to be focused at the same time? Or is that control overriding everything else?
Yeah.
Really?
I think it makes me feel really safe and comfortable to be under the illusion that I can control anything at all.
I mean, I think that's why we have that mechanism, right? Is because like it's such a great way to self-soothe,
Mhm.
right? Is to give into that illusion of control. Like, well, if I can control this, then like, oh, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, totally. Well, and like a nod to the fact that it can be a trauma response too,
Oh,
genuinely.
1000%.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? And that there's nothing actually wrong with that.
Mm-mm.
'Cause like we're human and we're gonna ebb and flow out of that no matter what. Like